All right, Carly. So we're rolling. So tell me about what you do. We were talking before, permanent cosmetic. But what is it? Tell me more about that.
So it's every form and modality of permanent cosmetics, permanent makeup.
Okay.
So we do eyeliner, microblading, ombre brows, machine brows. I mean, there's tons and tons of things. Yeah.
And we were talking about, you know, your business growth, but I've always been curious. Like, is that pretty popular? Like permanent cosmetic?
Yeah. Well, so there's a few probably reasons it's so popular.
Okay.
Number one, Utah is like the hub of the beauty industry.
Yeah.
Like every girl is either a photographer or a cosmetologist. I mean, it's like so many people are in the beauty industry.
Yeah, my wife is a cosmetologist.
So
she doesn't
maybe doesn't do it
right,
a whole lot,
but she's got her license and
went
keeps
to
it
school.
active.
Oh yeah. Yep. We all did. I know.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a huge reason. Is
Okay.
so many people went to cosmetology school, aesthetics. Permanent cosmetics, though, is a little bit different. It is not regulated by Doppel. So you do not have to have a license to do it. You have to have a certification. So it makes it very, very easy to break into that field, regardless of who you are or what kind of background you come from. So I think that's kind of a huge reason that lately permanent cosmetics has really blown up. People are going, oh, I can change my career and I don't have to do 9 months of school or 2 years of school or whatever it is. You know, it's literally, it could be 5 days and you have a new career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Which
really cool.
Can be scary, I think.
Sure.
I think that puts a lot of people off. And I've actually been working really hard to bring awareness to that, to how unregulated it is, and working on ways to kind of verify that the training facilities and the practitioners out there have done their due diligence and are doing continued education and are learning from, you know, certifiable places, not just any old person. I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, it can get bad. It
can get bad. Well, yeah, when you said it's not necessarily a license, like there's not a whole lot of schooling gets into it, you know, my mind went to like both. You know, like that, I could see how that could be a problem, but I could also see how that could be really good. Like you said, you could switch a career. You could, you know, you could have those people who are, you know, might be desperate for a job and they can gain a skill very quickly.
Which, I mean, is the reason that I do what I do. Is I was a single mom for 5.5 years.
Wow.
I had been to hair school back in the day, 16 years ago, a long time ago.
Yeah, cool.
And I got divorced. I was living in Las Vegas and I moved back to Utah. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I was going to have to, you know, retest and do all these things as I let my license go when I moved. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was working at Topgolf and I was making, you know, on a good day, $100 a day. On a good day.
Yeah, really good day.
On a really good day. And I just was like, I don't know how am I going to take care of my kids? How am I going to, you know, make ends meet? And I took this microblading course and it was 5 days and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just doing this, right? So I started taking clients and I was making, you know, $180 in 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is crazy. So I actually ended up starting to teach for the company that I learned at. And I was with them for about 2 years. And we started teaching at the National Institute of Medical Aesthetics. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were doing like big things, you know. It was really great. But I kind of grew out of that. That was really mainly a microblading academy.
Right.
It was a great school and really like my home of where I learned everything that I learned, you know. And I learned great things and I learned not so great things. And I just grew there and blossomed and I kind of outgrew it. And I wanted to do more. So I started realizing like, well, you don't have to have a license. You don't have to go to school to do any of this, you know, anything that is encompassed within the body art certification. And so I started seeing scalp micropigmentation, which is kind of where I can create the illusion of hair follicles for men who are, you know,
like bald like me,
losing hair.
Right.
And I was like, that's so cool. So,
yeah, they get like almost like a tattoo of like a hairline or something?
So it's like little tiny dots. It's called Pointillism.
Okay.
And it's these little tiny dots that you want to replicate the size and shade of what their natural hair is when they get sort of like the 5 o'clock shadow. I don't know what that's called on the head, but on the beard it's called a 5 o'clock shadow.
I like that.
So,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I was learning, I looked into that and I found this guy, Saif Sidki. He's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And he's actually from Cairo, Egypt, and he is like the best in the world. In 2018, he was voted best SMP artist worldwide. And I'm like, this guy is so fire, like he's so good. So I flew him out here to Utah to train me one-on-one.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I was just like so like blown away by his work.
Wow.
He was so good.
Okay. That's the first time I've ever heard of somebody doing something like that.
Yeah, I was committed to that.
How did you get that to happen with him? I mean, you're talking about one of the best in the field.
The best, yeah.
And you convinced him to fly out to Utah and train you one-on-one. I'm sure
money.
A little bit of dough. I'm sure there was some dough.
Quite a bit of dough. Yeah. It was an investment, but
you learned from the best.
That's insane. I was just so blown away by him, and so
Good for you.
He loved the tenacity. So when I ended up opening my own academy, he actually comes out here and teaches for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So
talk about that investment paying.
Oh, it totally did. It totally did. Yeah, he's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. So we love him. He's part of the team. And then I got into lips, and I was like, that was a game changer. Doing lips was a game changer.
So when you say doing lips, what does that mean?
So it's like a permanent lipstick. So it's called lip blush. I've kind of seen it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert.
No, but I've heard about it.
You probably haven't looked into getting it done.
Right.
And I took off with that. I was getting so many people just wanting to come to me for lips only.
Wow.
That I got to a point where I still do the other stuff, but lips is kind of my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And it was kind of all of that happened all at once. I was learning SMP from, world leaders, and I did the lips, and I kind of took off with that, and I thought, I'm in this little space and I'm just doing things, and there was like, well, why am I not like really investing in teaching, these other forms of PMU? Why are we just sticking to microblading? So I, went home, talked to my husband, and he, Saturday he was online, he found a space, and Monday we went and looked at it, and Monday evening we put an offer on it, and we closed a month later, and we bought our little space and started renovating it, and that was a year ago this month.
No kidding.
Yeah, so.
I've never heard such a cool story. People, if you're not watching the video, that blows me away. So, obviously your husband was supporting you. This is something that you've been doing for a long time. But the fact that you invested so much in your own personal craft, is what really is just awesome.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't realize that, right? It's spend $50,000 on college and get a degree that you may or may not use, that may or may not pay itself off, or something like that. And you probably didn't spend as much as a bachelor's degree to get that training.
Well, not the training, but we have spent about $85,000 on the school, on building it out and, getting everything together. And it's constant. When you own a business, obviously. You're obviously always throwing your money back into it. But I feel like that's why the growth has been there.
Good. Yeah.
I partner. That's kind of my whole logic in business is the more people I have on my side, the faster I'm going to grow. The more people I'm trying to, if I'm always trying to be better than the next person, that's a long road.
Yeah, it is.
But if I just bring those people in and I say, you're the best at what you do, come work for me, then I have all the best people.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to try to be better than other people because we are the best,
That's right. And you guys are probably doing amazing things. Well, I know you're doing amazing things just from what I'm just from what I'm listening to. That's not a joke.
Yeah, we've
Good.
been growing.
So you have it. So it's a school now.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how did you intend it to be a school when it first started?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And was it because of what we were talking about earlier? You wanted to give some credibility to the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that...
Not that you're not credible.
No, totally.
You know what I'm saying.
It is. It's because there is no licensing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I break it down for you.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, let's just say you are like, man, I am just like tired of running the rat race. I want to do something different. You could come take... this is legal, okay? I'm not going to say this is moral, but it's legal. You could come take, say, a microblading course from me, and then turn around tomorrow and teach somebody else how to do it.
Wow.
And like with no experience.
With no experience, you could just hop on and start teaching.
You totally could.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, because there's nobody saying what makes a microblading course, you know, what does it need to have in it? There's no rules, there's no regulations.
Right.
It's just you do it. Like, you don't even have to really take the course. You could just do an online course.
Yeah, I could just
watch it on YouTube.
Watch a YouTube video and start charging people.
That is the sketchiest thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I wouldn't want somebody doing permanent makeup on me.
No, especially with the fact that you can spread bloodborne illnesses to people.
Well, yeah,
you know.
Not counting all the health stuff.
Right.
Just the fact that like this is something like a tattoo.
Aesthetically on your face.
Dude, like that's
for
not
years.
going away.
Yeah.
For a long time. Does it go away eventually?
So it does. So there is a difference between tattoo and PMU.
Okay.
It is under the same. So body art is under. You have tattoo, permanent cosmetics, and piercing.
Okay.
Which to me, I'm like, yo, hold up, because this is legit. The girl that's like at Claire's piercing like a toddler's ear.
Yeah.
It
read a book that, or her manager just told her to
took
do
a
it.
quick, it's called a bloodborne pathogen test. You take it, it's an hour long, it's like a food handler's permit.
Okay.
And that's all you need. And
That's
now you can go, you can stick a pole through somebody's nose or cheek or whatever. It freaks me out bad.
It
but
does.
Like that 16-year-old girl, like that's all she had to do, and she's working at Claire's, and now she's gonna go stick a needle through your baby's ear. That's
nuts.
Literally all it is.
So you're kind of pioneering this path.
I'm trying,
to get some kind of like, hey, we're a school. We put our guys and girls through 17 whatever, how many hours, and then they get experience, and before they leave. You know, you get this piece of paper that also means that they had so many hours.
Right, exactly.
OJT and training.
And so I know that insurance companies are totally willing to pick up my graduates based off of what's in our courses.
Wow.
So that's kind of a thing, right? Like if you're an insurance company, you don't want to cover somebody who is like, oh, I don't have a certificate. Like, you know, they're like, I want to see that you have 100 hours of, you know, of experience here before we take you on.
How did you get insurance companies to
join
on board with
there
you?
are a couple insurance companies within the industry that will cover an instructor and then cover their students during the instruction.
Yeah.
And so if I have that, you know, obviously I have that insurance. So mine are covered for up to 5 clients after they graduate, which would be, you know, between the hours they spend during the course to their 5 clients afterwards. And I give them a free month of booth rent so they can, you know, get started without having to, you know, put any more money into their business.
Good for you. Holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then the insurance company will take them over after they've kind of graduated through ours. So,
no kidding.
Yeah.
That's freaking sweet.
So it kind of helps them.
I love that.
Jump into it.
Yeah.
Not too bad. And I mean, it's not a huge investment, really, when you look at it. If you're going to change your career, like if you said you're going to college or aesthetic school is $25,000.
No kidding.
You know, I mean, hair school is $20,000.
Yeah,
these are very, very expensive, and they're, you know, a year to 2 years if you're going part time.
Yeah.
Our most expensive course right now is $38.50. And it's, and so, I mean, for less than, you're probably getting your your business license and insurance and everything, you're probably close to $4,500 all in.
But that's not a bad deal to start making money and start like actually having a way to go. Which is why, you know what, which is one of the main reasons I love interviewing business owners, I love interviewing entrepreneurs, and why I started the podcast is like, we miss the things that are right here, like, you know, I gotta go do this, or I can only do this, and I got Carly here telling me you don't have to spend $5,000 before you can start making money.
Totally, and that's the crazy thing too.
Awesome.
So if you take my lip blush course is $15.99.
Okay.
It's pretty affordable. I
feel
like.
That's
you get a full kit, you get your machine, you get your pigments, you get your numbing creams, you get everything that you need to actually physically do it, plus your free month of booth rent and your insurance. So you have everything that you need for $15.99, right? And then you go out and you start getting your clientele, even when you're starting, right? You're brand new at it, and you're just like, I don't even know how much to charge for this. $200 for a set of lips is probably starting out. It's about what I charge $400 for a set of lips. It takes me about 2 hours to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm making $200 an hour.
Good for you.
So
you should.
I'm not like, but that's
but
here's
great.
the thing: $100 an hour for somebody starting.
Yeah.
I mean, $15.99 for your class. So you're
at
$1,600. So you only have to do 8 clients before you've paid for your class.
Before you've paid it off, and then you're actually making.
And then you're making.
Dude.
So to me, it's like, why are people should be doing it, right?
Yeah, they should. Yeah,
they should be doing it.
And I love the fact that you're also, and I'm sure this happens too. And you probably thought about it, but you're also like empowering these girls and these women and men who choose to do this.
We have our first guy coming in next month.
And I always got to say that because like I like the barbers. I get like the straight stuff, and so I appreciate it, and I don't knock anything. Like I truly mean that like I don't knock anything, but the fact that like you can empower these young women for not a whole lot of initial investment. Like I would, like as a father, like I have a daughter, and as a father, if my daughter came up to me and said it cost me $1,600 to start a career, would you help me? Heartbeat. Yeah. Wouldn't even say no.
Totally.
I'd be like, I don't have to pay for you to go to college, and you can start making money.
I know.
Go for it.
Well, and
Good
I think the thing is too with that is. I think there's girls that think that's not, I don't know, I guess when you think of how short it is, it doesn't make it any less legitimate, of a business and of something to do. And there's so many girls out there that love doing makeup. That's a tough one to get into. I personally am not going to pay more than $50, $100 to get my makeup done for a special occasion. That's personally me. I'm just not going to do it. So you're talking about the hours it takes to do it versus the amount of money that you're going to make. I'm like, same thing with nails. I was just talking to my nail artist. She's incredible. She's like, literally, I know my nails are terrible right now, but she is so good. And I'm like, girlfriend, like, what's the most money you've ever made on a set of nails? She was like, the most I ever made, $120. And I'm like, you need to be getting paid for what you're good at. Like, you are so good. Like, you need to be getting paid for it,
Yeah, you're freaking sweet, man. That's awesome.
So she's coming in. She's taking our tiny tattoo course, which is
literally I've seen those.
Little baby tattoos. And I'm going, what are you doing? You can be getting paid $200 for a tiny tattoo that takes you 25 minutes to do versus your nails that take you 3 hours.
And the tiny tattoo, those are more permanent or like
they are
for sure permanent?
Yep,
like
those
a
tattoo's
a tattoo. Okay.
And you could use, that's what we were going to say. The difference is the pigment, right? So you have an ink for a tattoo and pigment for permanent cosmetics.
Interesting.
So permanent cosmetics is a semi-permanent. Now, it will be there, it does take some time to kind of like fade out. It's not oh, in 2 years it's gone. In 2 years you want to touch up because your color's going kind of funny. But with like tiny tattoo, that is ink, and that's like a real tattoo.
And your needles and everything.
All the needles and the machine and everything are the same.
Wow.
The only difference is the actual product that we use. That's the only difference.
Yeah, so I love that because you're like, you're talking to these, what did she say when you said that to her?
Oh, she's taking the class
good
next
for you.
month.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm like,
why not? Well, and
you
it's
already
not,
have the clientele.
Yeah, you already have the clientele. It's just another tool in your belt, and it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you add something to your belt for nothing?
$26.50, and you can be a tattoo artist. There you go.
And a tattoo artist, and then offer your clients like something else.
Right, a cute little finger tattoo to go with their nails. Now, and I do want to preface that like that tiny tattoos and tattooing are different.
Sure,
right?
I understand that. Yeah,
because this is single needle work, and there's no shading involved, and we're not dealing with colors. I mean, you could, I suppose, venture out and do color, but with our classes, we keep it very basic.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sit here and say, somebody who's like worked on their craft and apprenticed for 3 years, like, I'm a tattoo artist. I'm certainly not. I'm not anywhere near as good, and I have not one artistic bone in my body. I like art. Yeah. I think it's nice, and I like to do DIY things.
Yeah, yeah.
I like design, but I can't draw to save my life.
Yeah. But I've seen some of the tiny tattoos like that you have on Instagram and like your Facebook and stuff. And like for the right person, like that's perfect. Like sometimes that's all people want.
Right.
Like, and then you're going and finding like this tattoo artist who's like a real tattoo artist, and you're like, hey, can you do this? And they're charging you their normal rate for something that might not, you know what I mean? That you could now we can go to Carly's group and get it for maybe not as much money.
Yeah, which is great. I think that's kind of the thing too. The single needle thing is kind of really coming out a lot right now. People are really loving it because they're just dainty little feminine tattoos. You know, they're not.
Which is sometimes all, you know.
Ton of male clientele wanting those, but the women are loving them. So.
Well, when I heard tiny tattoo, that's the first thing I thought of. Just in my, because I would never get like a tiny tattoo.
Right.
Personally.
I mean, yeah. Why would you? I get it.
But well, you know, I always got to be careful here because like I love, you know, I've had a lot of women on here, a lot of women business owners, and I respect like the hell out of like women entrepreneurs and business owners. Number one, because like that's what I teach my daughter, and my wife is the same way, and so I just like, you know, I think the best kind of relationship to have is like one where you're both independent and you're both growing, independently growing, you know what I mean? And so I don't hold back, you know, they do whatever they want.
I know, which is so good. And honestly, like my husband was vital for me to start this, because I
was going to ask you about that.
Well, to be honest with you, like I think a lot of women feel it's so easy for women to step back and look at their friends and look at their family and look at their, you know, loved ones and say, of course you could do that. You're going to be so great. You are going to be like, I know that you'll be the best, right? It's so easy for us to see that in others, but very hard for us to see it in ourselves. And so if I hadn't had my husband saying, you know, of course you can do it. You know, you've worked for a place and you know how it runs. You helped run it. You know what you're doing. You're great. You're talented. I was like, oh. But if he had said you have to do it on your own, I would have been like,
I might not have done that.
Probably not trying to fail and lose all our family's money, but he kind of standing behind me and saying like, yeah, you're. And one thing he said to me that has just like resonated with me, and I tell every student because it was so vital for me in my growth, was you are the best investment you can make. Investing in you is the safest investment our family can make. He's like, I could invest in the stocks and have no control. And I can invest in, you know, a house and the market could crash. Not likely right now, but
I get what you're saying.
But
there's things
that you don't out of your control, right? We can have the big earthquake and your whole houses go. You know, there are safe investments, but investing in people is the safest thing. He's like, investing in, you know, when I went to do the scalp micropigmentation, he's like, investing in you is the safest thing that our family can invest in, because I know you're not going to fail. I know that you're going to work hard and you're going to make it happen. And I tell that to my students, generally younger girls who, you know, and I'm just like, girl, do it, because, you know, even if their husbands aren't supportive, I'll support you. You know, I'll do whatever you need to make sure that you succeed. And you can tell him to eat it.
Yeah, that's right. And they should.
Yeah,
totally. Because if you don't, I get kind of fired up about that. Because like you know, I feel the exact same way. And another reason, and people who are like long-time listeners of this know, but the only investment you should make is in a skill that you can have. Because like you know, people ask me like, you know, why I'm in sales. And that's kind of like the guy thing to do, I guess, kind of, you know, go into sales or whatever. But like, I love investing in my sales skills because if I got fired today, I'd have a job tomorrow.
Totally.
And there's like a lot of power in being able to say like, you know, like I don't need you.
Yeah,
I don't
this
need
isn't
your
working
money.
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
I don't need your money. I don't need your job.
Yeah. It's not copacetic with my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Which is what I love about PMU, because I'm going, you guys are working for yourself.
Yeah.
You're doing all of this on your own. You got to
Yeah.
make your own schedule. You know, it's like, it's so incredible to me. So when we started, it was just me doing, mainly lips was kind of what I wanted to. I didn't really want to step on toes with my last lady. So I was like, I'm going to find somebody else to teach the microblading portion.
Yeah.
So I was doing lips. I had my girl, you know, Shay's a good friend of mine from high school, and she's been doing PMU for a while. I'm like, she's my eyeliner girl. So I need to find a microblading girl. So I find this girl. Her name's Story Myers, and she's like an incredible microblading artist. Wow. And I'm like, hey, do you want to come teach for me? And she's like, oh, check it out, whatever. So this girl, she comes in, she works, you know, less than 5 days, and she is 25 years old, and she just bought her first downtown condo for over $365,000. I'm like, your house is more than my house is. You make more money than I make.
But she's a badass.
She's a badass. She's just, and I'm just like, that's so freaking incredible to
really
me.
Cool.
That a 25-year-old girl, single, no kids, working for herself, buying her first house by herself because she's in this industry. Yeah. And I've got, you know,
so
Sam,
cool.
another single girl out here, just picks up and goes to, you know, goes on trips whenever she wants because she can afford that, because she can make her schedule and then she can afford to go. And I'm like, well, I have a family, so I
well, but
what I do, but
but that's the thing, is like you're opening these doors that you can do whatever you want. You want to have a family, there's your career. Go have a family. You want to go on trips, go on trips. You want to go buy a house, go buy a house. Like
totally.
This, I hand it to you.
Oh yeah, and I'm paying them so much because of their skill. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I do a 70-30 split. So I give them, I'm like, because to me, I want the best. Yeah. And so I need to pay for the best, and I will invest money into this business, and I think that comes back tenfold when I have, you know, the best instructors and people that are passionate about what they're doing.
Well, I love the percentages, because like some people might be like, that's a low percentage, but you know, 30% of $3 million is a lot of money.
No, they get the 70.
They get the well, that's what I'm saying.
I was like, oh no, they get the 70. No, I know. Well, I'm like, 30%.
I figured that, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't realize that like 30% of like $3 million, that's a chunk of change, and anybody would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because I'm not
or whatever the number is.
I'm not the one working. Do you know what I mean? I do work. I do work. I do work a lot.
I'm sure you do. I know what you.
But I get a focus on, you know, I'm not in there teaching those classes.
Yeah, but you're the owner. You're at the 30,000-foot level. Yeah. You're dealing with all the.
I gotta do all the really fun stuff. You know, I have the fun job, guys. No, you know, it's been a lot, and I'm actually since starting that, I've started 2 other companies.
Cool.
So I have I have my personal where I take clientele, right, which would be separate. So that's kind of my own thing. And then we have the school, and then I've started 2 more companies. One I can't really get into yet.
That's okay.
Patent pending. So no, it's an educational tool company. So we're creating tools for the educational purposes of PMU specifically. Which is just gonna be so fun.
Paving the way.
So fun. It's seeing a need for, you know, anytime I'm in a class and we say something like, well, it's not really like this when you're working on a person. Then I'm like, we need to find a way. I need to find a way for me to teach you what it's really like working on a person, because there's enough stress when you're like about to do your first procedure on a real human being.
I bet. That's like for money, that's like for keeps.
The whole thing. And you're like, well, it's, what do you mean it's not like working on an orange?
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're working on a few things, and that's going to be really fun. And then the other one is called the National Body Art Association, which is going to create certification processes for educators.
Wow. So, yeah, we kind of talked about that. You're trying to pave the way for that, which I think is good, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's necessary and needed. It's not going to be legal. It won't be, like, legally binding.
Sure.
You know.
But you'll have some, like, you know, you'll be, your students will be able to say, like, I went to the, I went here and I did this, and they're for real, like, well, there's a lot of value in that, you know what I mean? That then you can start, explaining to clients, like, I know I'm charging you more than the guy who spent 5 hours on YouTube.
Right.
Like, because this is where I went.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, where there's not any, like, requirement for doing better education, I feel like if you're taking the time, and I hear it from students all the time, I go, oh, why did you choose our academy? And they go, well, we did our research, which is such a good thing to hear. I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But, I know there's cheaper places.
Sure.
I totally know that. We try to be competitive in pricing, but at the end of the day, what matters is that the people that are teaching you know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which I just know that there's people out there that are training that, took a class and they're out there training now.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of power in that too. Like, I'm in sales, and so there's something powerful about saying, like, yeah, I know they're cheaper. Right? Like, I know they're cheaper. Yeah.
Totally.
And if you want that, like, if you want to go, like, here's where my customers look like, and there's what theirs looks like. And if you want that, go ahead, man.
Totally. Well, and I never, for me, it's kind of...
I'm sure I come off a little more abrasive than that, but
Well, I just, for me, I never, ever want to discredit another woman's work because it's her time and her, and so I'm just like, I know there's cheaper places, and that's totally fine. Some of it could be that they're cheaper because they don't have as much overhead. They don't have that 70-30 split, so, there's reasons that they could be cheaper and they could have just as great education. But for me, I do believe that there should be some type of process set in place to say this person is offering a good course. Yeah. So I know that there are courses that are good. And I'll never sit here and say, oh, that's, any course that's not ours is bad. That's certainly not the case.
Sure. I like that. That's fair.
But I do think that there are courses out there where they should not be training what they're training.
Okay.
I mean, we had a girl, so we started doing the tiny tattoo training, and the next thing I know, there's a girl posting that she's gonna do a tiny tattoo group training for $1,000 total.
So if you
regardless of how many people are there.
Interesting.
So if you get 4 people, it's $250 each. If you get
10 people,
yeah, $100 each. And so you got all these girls that are like, OMG, I'm totally interested. And we go to her page, and she's never done one.
Oh, that's not good, though.
But she said, it's the same as permanent cosmetics.
No. You're like, no way, man.
No, it's not. No,
Oh, no.
Which is, so then the interesting thing is, I own the academy, right? Well, last month I went and took our class. I paid full price for it. Yeah. Because, obviously I didn't have to pay the academy fee, but I paid full price to my...
full price for it. Good for you.
Which, I'm like, I invested in learning it because I know, am I probably a little bit ahead of somebody who has no skills or no experience doing this? I'm probably a little bit ahead of that person. Yeah. But I couldn't have done it without taking the training. Yeah. Let's say that. I've been doing this for a long time. I needed that training. Yeah. And she's out here just teaching people, and I'm like,
and that's scary too. Well, and it should be scary, and I understand why, because for somebody who like you, who's invested the time, invested the money, you've flown professionals out to see you, and then to see something like that, I'd be like,
Well, and the thing is, I can't sit here and say that it wasn't a great training. It could have absolutely been. She could have watched enough YouTube videos. Maybe she went and took a course before she taught the course. I don't know. I won't ever say that the training was bad because I wasn't in it. But that is exactly why I created the certification process, because if she didn't know her bloodborne pathogens, if she didn't teach that and pass that on to her students,
then you have then there's a lot of liability.
Now we've got however many girls went into that class, 10 maybe, right? Maybe 10 girls got into that class. Now you have 10 people out there doing tattoos on people that do not understand the...
Well, I like that you're doing certification, because this brought up another thing. Well, like, you know, if I have one bad experience with something, like a tiny tattoo like that, I'm not going to go to someone else, because, like, now I know, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Whereas if I had somebody, you know, who spent the time and the money, and, you know, and again, I like the fact that, you know, that you charge the money that you do, because it also sends the message that it's, to the girls and boys who do this and men who do this, that it's like, you need to give up something, you need to sacrifice something so that you can actually learn what I'm telling you to learn, and take it seriously and take it legitimately and do the things that you have to do.
Yeah. Right? You know, it's interesting too in a trade. I think a lot of people, you know, they try to like barter for like lower pricing when it comes to trade. Yeah. And I'm like, would you ever walk into like Smith's and be like, I want this apple. Yeah. But I don't really want to pay for the whole thing. Yeah. I'd like to get into eating this apple for as little as possible. Right. And I'm like, you wouldn't do that when it comes to a tangible item. Right. But for some reason, there's this like, get it for less mentality when it comes to education. Yeah. And I'm like, this is where you spend your money. This is where you spend your money, because this is what cultivates a good skill. And you need to buy your apple off Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, right. Invest in the education. Yes, yes, ma'am. You know, that's the smarter way of going about it. Yeah. And, you know, again, I just think that a girl reached out to my admissions director and said, you know, I've been doing aesthetics and I want to get into PMU, I think, but I don't know if I want to spend a whole lot of money and da-da-da-da. And she's going, you know, could I get a discount on this or that? And I said, you know, if she's not sure she's into it, maybe she should take one of the less expensive classes than jumping in on, you know, a big brow class, which obviously carries a higher ticket because it's a longer class. And I'm like, but I'm not going to discount. First of all, not only is that discounting, you know, like everything that I've put into my company, but that discounts now. That's asking my instructors to discount on their education that they paid for. Yeah, they all paid for top-notch education. They've put time into making sure that they're really, really good at their skill and at their craft. And now you're asking them to discount all their hard work and my hard work. Yeah, like, for real. No.
Well, and you shouldn't. Yeah. Like I told, and again, like it goes back to that thing. Like if you're not really there, I'm not going to discount my class for you to half-ass my class. Exactly, exactly. I know I had another girl that reached out to me about a lip class and then went somewhere cheaper and came back to me and said, oh, I made a big mistake. I should have come to you first. I said, hey, no biggie, no hard feelings. And she's like, I need to take your class, but I don't have the money now. And I said, call me when you do. Yeah, call me when you do. And she goes, well, can you just tell me if my technique is wrong? And I said, look, I have no idea what technique they taught you because it wasn't my class. Yeah. No. Come to the class. You can come take my class, though. Yeah, I like that, though. Well, because, like, again, like, you know, just like you tell your clientele and, like, your husband told you, like, you're the best investment you can make in yourself, and you should take that seriously. And you shouldn't, you know what I mean? And then you shouldn't tell people that, you know, I messed up on myself. Can you fix me? Because that's not how it works. Right, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, no, someone has to take the hit. It's not me. It should be. Yeah. It should, well, and I love that. And like and by the way, you know, I probably sounded a little aggressive, but that's how I am. No, and that's how you should be. Sales is kind of, you know, it's kind of trying to let people see, you know, the importance of the situation. And I think, you know, for me, it's taken me some time because that's a very fine line for me to walk because I feel for women and I want women who finally do make an investment in themselves. I want them to be successful. I think every time I see a single mom come in and take my class, I'm like, oh girl, standing ovation, because that's scary. That is so scary to take any amount of money away from your kids or potentially what you could do for your kids and do something for quote unquote you, not, you know, it is for your kids. But not knowing if you're going to be successful, not knowing if you're going to take off and get that investment back, that is terrifying because I've been there.
And so every time I hear that, my heart breaks because I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to help you. I want to help you. And I had to bring in a salesperson because I was giving the house away. And she looked at my numbers and she's like, girlfriend, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but she said that this and then that.
So you had to bring in a.
And then so I've got a hard hitter now. She has that mentality where she's like, no. And it's taken
she can
a
be
bit of
empathetic.
time.
She can be empathetic, but
my
wife calls it a velvet hammer. A velvet hammer.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, it is tough, because we do have so much empathy as business owners, because we came from we all came from that spot. We're like, dude, I mean, 85 grand, you could do a lot with that. Other places,
Totally.
And so I understand where you're coming from, because like as a sales guy myself, I've had those conversations too, where it's like, oh geez, I just heard this story, and it could have been the exact same story that I've been in, but and I guess it's tough because you don't want to give someone a handout, but maybe a hand up or something like that.
Right.
And so pitching that the right way is tough.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what comes with taking our classes is that you do get this like kind of girl gang behind you that's just like,
that's sweet.
that just like you get these like built-in best friends and cheerleaders and motivators and all that, and we try to teach that, right? And I think that that's part of a lot of with how I structured it. My husband hates my structure. He is like, babe, we give away so much money. And I'm like, we're not giving it away.
Yeah.
It will pay off. But I think that there's, a lot of that whole mindset of if you partner with people, if you bring them in, if you shout them out, they feel an obligation to do the same for you.
Yeah, there's a reciprocity
now.
kind of
You
thing.
got,
you got a team.
this is my homie, and I've got girls that send me their work all the time, and I'm just like, and they tag me in it, and I'm just like, yay, And I think there's something to be said that if you are more concerned about training competitors, you shouldn't be training. If you are worried about creating competition for yourself, training is not for you.
Wow.
Which I've had to say.
That's probably one of the most insightful things that I've ever heard.
Oh,
because
put that on my tombstone.
Right. Well, and I mean that I'm not trying to do anything crazy, but it's true though. Like I really like that you said that, because if you're in a training and teaching position and you're worried about somebody coaching against you. Well then, it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
I really like that.
The mentality of I want you to be good but not better than me does not suffice for us.
Well,
I want you to be the best. I want to see you thrive and grow.
Yeah.
I'm in this field. I teach people how to do this. This is what I do. Yes, I still take clients.
Yeah.
I am not concerned about people becoming better than me or as good as me. I'm like, please, girlfriend, get there, and then when you get to the top, just, shout down like, thank you.
Give credit,
you were cool, appreciate it, I mean, I live for that because I've been in that place.
That is such a cool mentality.
I've been in that place, and that's a scary place, and I don't want women there, ever. I don't want women staying in a relationship that they feel they have to be in, I want every woman to come into a relationship and say, I'd like to be here, I don't need to be.
Yeah. What we were talking about earlier, like when you and that's how do you instill that? That's a big question. Like how do you instill that in women? And how do you instill that in women is you give them skills
you give them strength,
you give them confidence. Well, competence breeds confidence, and when a woman feels like she can do anything on her own, that's the best.
Yeah, totally.
I don't need to be here. I don't need you. I don't need your money. I don't need this. I'm out. I'll go make my own money. We'll do my own thing. Yeah,
totally.
That's how I raised my daughter. That's how I raised my son. To understand that like we all run our own races, and we be independent, and we're there. You know what I mean?
Totally. Do you know what's funny too? Like my husband and I, people are always just we never fight. Him and I, we never fight. This man is like
I believe it.
He's like an angel on earth. I think like an actual
that's awesome
angel.
Yeah,
He is so great. And, you know, people are like, man, you guys are just, you know, doing this and doing that. How do you have the time, the energy,
yeah.
blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
But he works at Shriners Children's Hospital.
Wow.
Plus he goes to school. He's at the
cool.
business college at the Youll.
Wow.
We have 3 kids, and we do
Wow.
owner-occupied investing with real estate. And then we
Wow,
have the
cool.
academy, and then obviously I take clients.
And you guys are rocking and rolling.
We're just doing the thing, and people are just like, how do you do it? And I said, you know what? It's so important to find a partner that has a common goal, right? When
like
you
that.
both say, look, we can, you know, we have completely separate lives.
Sure.
You know, he works at a hospital, and I run a salon. I mean, it's totally different. We're not working together, but we're working together, right? And and when we look at a goal 5 years down the road, and we're both working towards that, we don't have time to fight.
Yeah.
We don't have time to disagree. We don't have time to be upset or you know, angry about, you know, how one thing went or another thing went.
Sure.
We're focused on the end goal, and whatever he needs from me, I will do. I mean, unless it's like getting the oil changed or something. I don't even.
Right on.
You know,
Cool.
I mean, there are
good for
things.
you.
No, I mean, I would. He probably gets to it before I have a chance to get to it.
Sure. Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, what I need, he provides, and what he needs, I provide, and we're working together, and we get there so much faster.
Yeah,
you just get there so much faster
Yeah.
when you just support your loved one in what it is they want to do, regardless of what that looks like.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. And that's how it should be.
Totally.
You know what I mean? That's how it should be. You guys are, you know, you're both independent, you're both working towards the same goals, and you just happen to be married and have kids and, and love it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how he puts up with me, but I lucked out.
I'm sure he says the same thing.
I don't know. If I've eaten, he probably says the same thing. If I'm hangry, he's like, is it really worth all this?
Right, dude. That's funny. That's so cool. But I really, you know, I didn't know a lot about what you did or who you were coming into this, but you know, it's been a real treat for me to like hear this. Because, you know, I feel like people miss that. You know, people are like, you know, they go to find these celebrities who might be doing what you're doing. And they're like, man, I wish I could be like her. But Carly's your next door neighbor. And Carly will actually help you.
Yep.
And she'll always be there. And that's why I wanted to do this, because like people don't realize that. People don't realize that right next, you know, you're looking at Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos, and like, man, I wish I could be like that. But like 3 of your next door neighbors are multi-millionaires, and they'll actually give you advice for free.
Right. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
They
like
sit down and have coffee with you.
Yeah, they'll sit down and have coffee with you, or like they offer like the cheapest class, and not only that, but they offer you a network. I'm sure that's what you also offer people. You know, I've got a network.
Totally. Yep. Yep, which we love.
Yeah, and you should.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so how do people, if people want to look you up, how do they find you?
So it's funny because I thought we were getting all of our traction off Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, marketing is not, I wear many hats.
Cool.
That is not one of them.
Right.
Nope. Not good at it. Yeah. So we actually just hired our first marketing firm like literally a month ago.
Okay.
And they told us that the majority of our traffic is coming from our website, which I was just like,
wow.
Oh.
Like Google and stuff like people Google and then find the website.
And I'm like, really? Because we have not done anything with we haven't done anything with SEO or anything at all.
Wow.
So I was really surprised by that. But so we do have a website. It's www.npcacademy.com. So like National Permanent Cosmetics Academy. That just was really long to write out. So NPC Academy, and then on Facebook is at NPC Academy as well.
Okay.
And then Instagram, sorry. Facebook I think is spelled out National Permanent Cosmetics Academy.
Okay. Yeah, Facebook's weird. They have all their handles weird.
Yeah. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then so they can find you there, and they should. You know, somebody will be listening to this and
yeah, or they can call 801-810-NPCA.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool.